Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my guidepost, my daily inspiration. And today I thought I'd bring you my poem called Space. And it's based on the fourth verse of the Tao Te Ching, so it's not actually Space, the Final Frontier, but it is about the space that we need for everything to exist. Let me read it to you and then you'll find out. In the space between your thoughts is silence. In the space between possessions lays contentment. In the emptiness of space, the universe is held together. Space is a place of peace. But when we have space, we can breathe. When there is space, all opinions can exist. When there is space for disagreement, enemies can become best friends. The nothing that wisdom says I am provides the space for me to be everything through love in all eternity. All the twisted knots are loosened, unraveling in the space where we exist. The emptiness is filled within the fullness of all space. We are divinity expressed in the smile of the Father's face. The dust settles in the infinity of space. So it's kind of a different take on the concept of space. They say, don't they, that the space between the notes is where the music is. That if you just had a load of notes being played one after the other, after the other, after the other, and there was no space between them, all you'd hear is a bit of a row. It wouldn't be music at all. It's the blankness of the page behind the typed characters that allows you to read and to make sense of the ink. If you just put ink on a page, that isn't a book. It's the space behind the blankness of the page, behind the words that create the novel. So again, this is my take on the Tao Te Ching, verse 4. And maybe you would read it and you would see something else there, but this is what I came up with. The space between your thoughts is silence. How would you like some silence in your life? Sometimes things get so loud. These things calling for your attention, grabbing your thoughts away from where you want them to be. So in the space between possessions lays contentment. In the space, in the emptiness of space, and you can see it behind me, the universe is held together. There's lots of points of light, and each of those points of light that you're looking at behind me is a galaxy. It's not a star, it's a galaxy. That's how deep the photograph has been taken into space. It's a very small area of the universe, and every dot of light is actually billions of stars. It just makes us feel so small. And yet, on that photograph behind me, there's more black, isn't there, than there is light. And yet there's potentially trillions of planets on that photograph. The space in the universe holds it together. And I'm sure that there are scientists who would be able to explain why that statement is true. It's the gravity of the whole thing being held together that makes it the way it is. But when we have space, we can breathe. if there's if you're in a panic mode, you can hardly breathe, can you? But when you have space, when you're relaxed, when you're at peace, you can breathe. And where there's space, all opinions can exist. If you open up a space and say, I know that we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, but I am genuinely interested in what you have to say. I'd like to know where you're coming from, not so that I can disagree with you, but just so, just so that I can understand what's in your heart, what's in your mind, what makes the world tick for you. Because to know all is to understand all. And maybe we need a little bit more understanding for each other's opinions. We have come to our conclusions carefully. And if we can allow space for others' opinions to exist as well as ours, then we're in a good place. Enemies can become friends. What is it that I've done that's so upset you? Why do you feel that way about me? Not so I can argue my case of why you're wrong and why I'm right, just so that I can understand. Then friendships can be formed. Might not want to go the same places and do the same things ever because we have a different way of seeing the world, but we can more than tolerate each other if we give space to understand each other. The nothing that wisdom says I am provides the space for me to be everything through love in all eternity. So when we realize that in the vastness of this universe picture behind me, look at that, all that beautiful light out there in the darkness. And the fact that we're looking at hundreds of billions of stars, those are just, they're not stars, they're actually like the Milky Way, they're hundreds of billion stars each. There's 300 billion stars in the galaxy average. How many galaxies are we looking at there? Amazing. When you consider yourself with the trillions of planets potentially that orbit around the stars in the billions of stars in each of those galaxies behind me. We're nothing, are we? We're so full of ourselves. But when you realize that out of the potentiality of matter, of actual physical bits of whatever, flesh or rock or whatever else is out there, burning hydrogen and helium that's out there, we're just this tiny little speck of dust. Even the planet Earth is a blue dot, Carl Sagan called it. But once we realize how nothing we are, how when that wisdom prevails within us, it gives me the space to be everything through love in all eternity. I can fill that universe. You can fill that universe with your presence. If you realize that you've been given this life so that you can show love and kindness and gentleness to the planet, to each other, you know, to fellow human beings, to the animal species, and to sit there in wonder as I am this morning of the universe. All the twisted knots are loosened, unraveling in the space where we exist. We're tied down with so many preconceived ideas, but in that space, all those knots can unravel. This emptiness can be filled with the fullness of all space, your divinity expressed in the smile of the Father's face. The Creator, the source energy, has given us life, and that energy smiles on us and wants us to go up, to move up the energy within us. We don't want the baser energies of anger and fear, but we want love to be lifted. The dust can settle. The dust of all this that's wrong in the world can settle in the infinity of space. So yeah, that's my take on space this morning. I'm going to read my poem without comment and end the broadcast. In the space between your thoughts is silence. In the space between possessions lays contentment. In the emptiness of space, the universe is held together. Space is a place of peace. For when we have space, we can breathe. When there is space, all opinions can exist. When there is space for disagreement, enemies can become best friends. The nothing that wisdom says I am provides a space for me to be everything through love in all eternity. All the twisted knots are loosened, unraveling in the space where we exist. The emptiness is filled within the fullness of all space. We are divinity expressed in the smile of the Father's face. The dust settles in the infinity of space. Namaste.